Charles Dickens' exposé of the French Revolution, produced by the Shattered Globe Theater at the Wit on Belmont in Chicago, is cleverly performed by a cast of 8 and seems a little too close to home in today's political climate. This is Reno Lovison, executive producer at ChicagoBroadcastingNetwork.com and theater reviewer for ChicagoTheaterAndArts.com, where you can read this review if you prefer not to listen. Before we begin, I'd like to give a shout out to another Chicago area podcaster welcoming you to the life of a 23-year-old girl who's simply just trying to figure it all out. The Hangover series is a podcast made to share stories, open up, and hopefully make you feel a little more understood. New episodes drop every Sunday. Look for it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Just search The Hangover series. We'll put a link on our website. In this episode, we explore a story of love, politics, mob action, and self-sacrifice that demonstrates how collective passion for social change can ensnare even the innocent in a net of violence intended to punish those most guilty. This well-conceived adaptation of A Tale of Two Cities, adapted by Brendan Pelsu and directed by Michael Burke, tells a big story on a small stage with a minimal cast that encourages the audience to express their emotions as various incidents occur. This vocalization from the mob adds energy to the production, providing a visceral feeling of being part of the events and perhaps even some responsibility for decisions that are made and actions that take place. This is a cautionary tale that depicts injustice masquerading as justice, showing how those in power can manipulate the system to exact revenge and accomplish their own political objectives, while illustrating how the manipulated emotions of the mob can incite violence and add credibility to the injustices being perpetrated. Dickens weaves a fictional chronicle that begins with a love triangle involving Lucy Manette and 2 men who bear an uncanny resemblance to one another, Charles Darnay and Sidney Carton. Ultimately, the 3 are engulfed in the terror that results in guillotine executions of thousands of aristocrats and their perceived associates and sympathizers, including the king and queen. Lucy's father, Dr. Manette, has been falsely imprisoned in the notorious Bastille because he was witness to a horrible crime involving 2 French noblemen who used their power to silence him. Dr. Manette becomes a hero of the storming of the Bastille, an event that sparked the beginning of the French Revolution. Americans can see this as equivalent to the Lexington and Concord massacres. In truth, neither of these events are as big as they sound, but they spurred people to action. Darnay, a member of the French aristocracy, denounced his favored position as a marquis in sympathy with the revolutionaries, seeking to put more power in the hands of the people. The status of Dr. Manette as a revolutionary hero and Darnay's sympathetic stance cannot totally insulate them and their family from the madness of the mob, personified by the character of Madame Defarge, an overzealous and vengeful revolutionary who even manages to whip this rather passive audience at the Wit into a frenzy. This talented Shattered Globe ensemble moves seamlessly from role to role as each of the actors portray multiple characters. I'll put a complete cast list on our website. This is a story of reality that seems impossible to those who are experiencing it. The set design by Eleanor Kahn and Milo Bew features an array of smoky, semi-gilded mirrors that dominates the backdrop from floor to ceiling, providing an otherworldly, distorted reflection of the action, as well as an eerily distorted view of the audience who become part of the ensemble. The lighting by Eric Watkins is subdued, augmented by clusters of candles around the perimeter of the stage that contribute to the indistinct and unsettling nature of events taking place. The candlelight, along with the costumes by Katrina Hilko, indicate that this is a period piece representing an actual place in time historically. The overall cadence of the dialogue has a contemporary vibe, with moments of humor and levity that lighten the atmosphere a bit. The gallows humor reminds us just how absurd things can get when they've gotten completely out of control. The actors make no attempt to affect either a British or French accent, which would only unduly complicate the message. This modern approach no doubt makes the production more accessible to some audience members who may find a more traditional telling of the story somewhat oppressive and remote. My first impression was that Pelsu's approach harkened back to what we might have called a Cliff's Notes version of Dickens' original. That is to say, an abbreviated retelling designed primarily to touch on the main themes in order to pass a literature test. But thinking back to what I remember of the 1958 film, it took about the same amount of time to tell as this version. The advantage of a movie, of course, is that you can get more information in the time provided because you can tell with moving images details that you cannot include in a stage production. I'm a big fan of Dickens' writing, which is traditionally fraught with minute details that draw you into the time and place. In a book, he can take as much time as he wants to set the scene and explain the backstory. I would compare this version to that of an operatic libretto. The story is complete, but stripped to the essentials. In this case, a narrator or one of the characters often fills in some of the details in order to keep the plotline moving. The overall effect of this version of A Tale of Two Cities was quite satisfying and thought-provoking. I would highly recommend this to Dickens fans, anyone unfamiliar with the story, anyone unfamiliar with the history of the French Revolution, and anyone interested in how a political movement run amok can affect the lives of every person involved, resulting in unfathomable horrors perpetrated in the name of justice. A Tale of Two Cities, produced by Shattered Globe Theater, is at Theater Wit, 1229 West Belmont, Chicago, Illinois, through May 31st, 2025. It runs about 2 hours plus a 15-minute intermission. For tickets and information, visit sgtheater.org or call the Theater Wit box office at 773-975-8150, or just walk in there and purchase a ticket in person at Theater Wit. This is Reno Lovison, executive producer at ChicagoBroadcastingNetwork.com, your connection to people, events, and creative voices that shape our city. Be sure to like or share this episode and subscribe at our website or wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts in order to be alerted when new content is added. We have a number of new episodes dropping quickly, so be sure to look for our recent posted review of the documentary film Rise Above, as well as upcoming reviews of 5 Women Wearing the Same Dress by St. Sebastian Players coming up this weekend, and Berlin playing now at the Court Theater in Hyde Park. By the way, as always, if you need marketing or web video content production assistance for your company or organization, check out renoweb.net. And look for information about creating a family video history at the same place.